me while you wash them, stand and face Jerusalem. All right, blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh.
Barakatah Yahweh.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Hashirah.
Hashirah.
Natalanawa.
Talanawa.
Hashabath.
Hashabat.
Bashalawam.
Bashalawam.
The water.
The water.
Amen.
Amen.
English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. Ta'adim Ma'ah Hashirayim Akkad. Psalm 121. Anya Arayim Ayinimya O Arayim Ayan Yabu'a Isaiah Yabu'a Mayahawa Shaisha Shamayim Barataza La'a Jonathan Lamawat Wagalia Yala'a Yanawam Shashomarka Hana La'a Yanawam Wala'a Yayashan Shashomar Yashirala Yahweh Shemaria Yahweh Dazalia Ayel Yad and Yamya Yawamum Hashemash La'a Hakaya Vayarak La'a Balayala Yahweh Yashemaria Mako Rai Yashemor Napasha Yahweh Yashemor Aulakia Babaya Maitha Wa'aid Aiwalam Ba'asham Yahushai to water. Amen.
Psalms 121, a song of degrees. I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh Tapala, Yahweh's prayer, the Lord's prayer. Abiyanawa. Con. Shema Yasharala, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Akkad, Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Akkad, Shema Yasharala, Yahweh, Allah Hainawa, Yahweh, Akkad.
Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Yahweh Tapala, the Lord's prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Chodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakovka, Taba'a, Batazawanka, Haya, Haisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashamayim, Latananawa, Lacham, Yawam, Za, Wasalaknawa, Kawawafnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kawafyanawa, Wala'a, Abiyanawa, Oh, the side one. Abo, Aushainawa, Murai, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwaf, Wa'ala, Wataparat, Laiwalam. Amen.
Amen. Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. Hashirah Matazaraf, the Ten Commandments. La'a,
La'a,
Yahaya,
Yahaya,
Laka,
Laka,
Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Halchayim,
Alcharim,
Alpanya,
Alpanya,
La'a,
La'a,
Taisha,
Taisha,
Laka,
Laka,
Poso,
Paso,
Wala'a,
Wala'a,
Taibudam,
Taibadam,
La'a,
La'a,
Talakwaka,
Alakwaka,
Shamwa,
Shamwa,
Yahawa,
Yahawah,
Lahaika,
Alahayka,
Lashua,
Lashua,
Zakar,
Zakar,
Af,
Af,
Hayuwam,
Ayuwam,
Ashabaf,
Ashabak,
Lachodashwa,
Lakodashwa,
Kabad,
Kabad,
Abika,
Abika,
Wa Amaka,
Wa Amaka,
La'a,
La'a,
Tuatazak,
Ratazak,
La'a,
La'a,
Tana'ap,
Tana'ap,
La'a,
La'a,
Taganab,
Taganab,
La'a,
La'a,
Taina,
Taina,
Shakur,
Shakur,
La'a,
La'a,
Tachmad,
Tachamad,
Kal,
Kal,
Ashura,
Asherah,
La'aika,
Laraika,
Aman.
Amen. Exodus 20:3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Aman. Yeshua, please be seated. Barakta Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Asherah Natanara Pa Yagapan Tuara Aman La Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai At Yasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it, to Yahweh in the name of Yahushai with Israel. I model upon you, are you watching them? Send pictures. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakatah Yahweh,
Haggadah,
Haggadah,
Rakaram,
Rakawam,
Habiyah,
Abiyah,
Wanawa'a,
Wanawa'ah,
Aliyawan,
Aliyawan,
Malak,
Malak,
Sho,
Sho,
Shemayim,
Shemayim,
Rarataza,
Warataza,
Wako,
Wakah,
Dabayim,
Dabar,
Kayim,
Kayam,
Wagum,
Wagam,
Hamashiach,
Hamashiach,
Mayahawa,
Mayahawa,
Arawanawa,
Arawanawa,
Ahabnawa,
Ahabnawa,
Hapala,
Apalah,
Yawaitaza,
Yawaitaza,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Zakarnawa,
Zakarnawa,
Yahawa,
Yahawa,
Ratazawan,
Waratazawan,
Aimka,
Ainka,
Yasha'ala,
Yasha'ala,
Aizornawa,
Aizarnawa,
Mana,
Banah,
Wasap,
Wasap,
Yasha'ala,
Yasha'ala,
O,
O,
Nanawa,
Nanawa,
Yamyan,
Yimyan,
Aita,
Aita,
Kaiwamyam,
Kayawamyan,
Makodam,
Makodam,
Babukushai,
Babakushar,
Shalak,
Shalak,
Maika Allah,
Maika Allah,
Watazawadak,
Watazawadak,
Alahayim,
Alahayam,
La,
La,
Magannawa,
Maganawa,
Wapanawa,
Wapanawa,
Washamo,
Washama,
Alnawa,
Alnawa,
by Kor,
Baikur,
Shalat,
Shalak,
Aroka,
Aroka,
Shaw,
Shah,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Lala Mudnawa,
Alamadnawa,
Rabiam,
Rabiam,
Kakama,
Kakama,
Tabawana,
Tabawana,
Wada Aif,
Wada Ait,
Shaw,
Shah,
the Barker,
the Barker,
Ahasham,
Basham,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
the Wada,
the Wada,
Tamyad,
Tanyad,
Ayulam,
Waiwalam,
Aman.
Aman.
English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor Yahweh Shah. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build in God of Israel. Most High, we beg you right now, like the days of old, please send Michael and the righteous powers and angel to protect us, to heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushua to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, I thank you always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that give to us the law. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakate Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushua,
Basham Yahushai,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Nathanawa,
Tananawa,
Atawarat.
Atorah,
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that give to us the light to see. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakate Yahweh,
Hashem Yahushua,
Basham Yahushai,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Nathanawa,
Tananawa,
Awar,
Awar,
La Orat.
Larawat,
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that give to us the Ramzon to call the people. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakate Yahweh,
Ba'ashem Yahushua,
Basham Yahushai,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Nathanawa,
Tananawa,
Karan,
Karan,
Hayah,
Hayo,
Lakara,
Lakora,
Ha'ain.
Ha'ain,
Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that give to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakata Yahweh,
Barakate Yahweh,
Hashem Yahushua,
Basham Yahushai,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Nathanawa,
Tananawa,
Hasheman,
Hasheman,
Zayaf,
Zayat,
Lamashak,
Lamashak,
Yasha Allah.
Yasha Allah.
Yeshua, please be seated. All right, we had a brief interruption. Welcome to Hayashua al-Kanas, which stands for the Congregation of Israel. We're located in Philadelphia, um, Pennsylvania. And today is the Lord's Sabbath day, as we read in Exodus, the 20th chapter, starting at the second verse on down. The Most High said to keep the Sabbath day holy, and that's what we are exemplified today on the Lord's Sabbath day. So it is mandatory that we come and worship before the Most High on this day. All flesh of the nation of Israel, and this is a prophecy also that we will be keeping even when Christ makes his second coming and establish the kingdom of Israel. So we are rehearsing the righteous acts. As we always do, we will go over 2 chapters in the Bible and give the sense. In the chapter that we're going to read, as you see scrolling on the screen, is 2 Samuel 19 and verse 20. My name is Kahan Pokwad. It is an honor and humility to be of service to you, but most importantly, serving the Most High. So with that, we're going to go into the chapter at hand, which is 2 Samuel, where the book of Samuel is about the kingdom and the people of Israel asking for a king, just as the other nation had a king. And the Most High tell us to wait because he is our king, but we were very impatient and we wanted a king, and the Most High start to give us a king. But as we know it, he gave us Saul, and he became wicked. The Most High took him off the throne, and David was his replacement. So David, from the tribe of Judah, as we know, our Lord and Savior, Yahushua, will come from the loins of David, right? So that's what we're going to read. The second book of Samuel picks up where the first book ended and where David faced opposition after his son Absalom died, and he had mainly with him the tribe of Judah. And then later on, as the kingdom progressed, they accepted him as the king. And now today, in 2023, and when you read the Bible, all throughout the Bible, David is being mentioned as an example of righteous king that we had. And when we say righteous, we meant he did things according to the Most High's will. At the same time, he had desires as well, because he was a man just like us. Sometimes his desires got taken over and he did not keep the law as he was supposed to, meaning he committed sin. Nevertheless, he never turned his back away from the Most High, even in his wickedness, right? And also, Nathan was the prophet that came every time he messed up, and he never, challenged Nathan when he came, right, to give him advice on when he mess up and tell him, here's what you do, and you're gonna, pay for it. So he always accepted his punishment without groaning, right? He took it, but nonetheless, he's a man after the Most High's heart. So that's pretty much a synopsis of what 2 Samuel is about. So now we're gonna go into the book, in 2 Samuel and read the details of pretty much what we see here, what we're gonna be seeing here in the pages that we're about to read. All right, so let's get to it. So grab your pen, paper, Bible, dictionary, or what have you, so that we can get going. And if you don't understand something that is brought out, if you have any question, feel free to jot them down. And in class, you can come in, ask those questions. All right. So let's get going. And also, I wanted to mention the Bible in general is a book about a king and his kingdom, his royal families, right, and the people that God had chosen. That's pretty much what the Bible is about. And everybody else outside of Israel, they just extras, right, in the Bible. All right, so it's about a king, his kingdom, his royal people that the Most High have chosen to rule the earth, and the other people around the nations, they are just extras. So that's pretty much a summary of the Bible. And if you go online, you'll get something completely different, right? Because online is pretty much run by this system, so therefore they summarize based on what they feel like you should know. But coming from an Israelite perspective, reading the Bible, that's pretty much what the Bible is about. All right, so let's get going with 2 Samuel. So now, what we are reading here in the 19th chapter is David's son died, Absalom, and he's weeping in mourning for his son. Right? Let's get going. Verse 1. It says, actually in this verse right here, there's gonna be reproach coming out from Joab to Solomon about how he handled his grief of his son Absalom. So let's go. And it was told Joab, behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom. And the victory that day was turned into mourning unto all the people. So keep in mind, Joab, he's the general of David's army. All right. So they just came from fighting, and Absalom was killed, right? Because they had a family situation going on where his son took over the kingdom. So they got involved into a fight, and Absalom lost his life. But David did not wish for his son to die. But unfortunately, in a war situation, no one is exempt. And plus, it was prophesied that the way it happened, that's how it would happen. So in the second verse, and the victory that day was turned into mourning. they mourned, right, unto all the people. But for the people heard say that they turn into mourning unto all the people, for the people heard say that day how the king was grieved for his son. And the people got them by stealth that day into the city, as people being ashamed still away the still away when they flee in battle. So what happened here, after Absalom died, even though they got the victory, it wasn't really a victory to them because the king was grieved for his son, David. David was grieved for his son. So as David grieved for his son, the army also got distressed. So they pretty much had covered David with a sheet, and then as he was going into the city, right? They cover him because he was grieved and he was in distress. And the people, verse 4, but the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O my son Absalom, my son, my son. And Joab came into the house to the king and said, Thou hast shamed this day the face of all thy servant. So Joab came in and he wasn't too pleased in how um, David behaved himself because of his son Absalom. And he told him that, what you're doing right now is like you make everybody kind of like it becomes shameful because you're crying for your son, and you're gonna read as we read on, what he said. And it says, and Joab came into the house to the king and said, Thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servant, which this day have saved thy life and the lives of thy sons and thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubine, and that thou lovest thine enemies and hatest thy friends. For thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. So Joab analogy was the way you're crying and you're making a hysteria about it. Yes, granted, that's your son, but you had a whole army that went to fight. So the perception that people are gonna get if you continue like this, they're gonna think that all the soldiers that went to fight means nothing to you, but your son is pretty much who you care about. You really don't care about us, right? So if your son had stayed alive and then we all were dead, that wouldn't be a thing to you. So and that is not a good look. If you're gonna be a king, you got to be about the people. So you can grieve, but as a king, there are certain things that you have to exemplify for the sake of the whole nation, right? Not just for one of your sons. And plus, your son disregarded you. He became your enemy. Now you love your son more than your friend that go out and risk their lives, right, to save you, your family, and everybody else. So that was his rent that he had, uh, towards David, right? So he was very upset about how David handled himself. So now let's see what else David did to repair the situation. In verse 7, Now therefore, arise, go forth and speak comfortably unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night, and that will be worse unto thee than all the evil that before thee from thy youth until now. So now he told him, my king, I'm gonna suggest to you that you get up and go speak to the people and be comfortable in a comfortable way. Like, you know, pick yourself up, dust yourself up, get some courage, and go and speak to the people that serve you, right? Your soldiers. And he said, that's Joab. He said he made an oath. If you don't go and, apply this suggestion and to see that the people hear you as a king, then the oath that he made to the Most High, that what's going to happen to David is going to be worse than anything else that happened to David from his youth all the way to the present time. So in verse 8, then the king arose and sat in the gate, and they told unto all the people, saying, behold, the king do sit in the gate. And all the people came before the king, for Israel had fled every man to his tent. So David took heed, and that's one thing about David. He always know how to act, even right when he don't act correctly in that situation in the moment. Once he catches himself, right, he take heed, just like everybody else, right? If you want to remain righteous and you want to do the right thing, every now and then you're going to slip. But when you slip, you seek counsel and you remedy the situation, and you get yourself back on track according to the word, right? So David pretty much listened to what Joab had to say, and he went inside in the gate and meet the people and comforted the people and regained his prominence as king. But again, with that comes fight and opposition that David is going to have to overcome to establish his kingdom. Right? So in verse 9, and all the people were at strife throughout all the tribes of Israel, saying, the king save us out of the hand of our enemies, and he delivered us out of the hand of the Philistines, and now he is fled out of the land for Absalom. Right? So the people had already had issues with David. He fled because of Absalom, even though he delivered them from the hand of the heathen, right? The Philistine, right? And the Philistine today, you can attribute them to the Palestinians, right? The Palestinians is the Philistine that the Philistine today, right?
And in name,
right,
but not the same people.
right. Not, I mean, yeah. In time, the people change color, they change location, just like the Jews left Jerusalem, black, and they turned back. So-called white, right? So, but the name Palestine come from Philistine, right? That's what I meant to say. All right. So, as we read on in verse 10, right? As we read on in verse 10, and Absalom, whom we anointed over us, is dead in battle. Now, therefore, why speak ye not a word of bringing the kings back? All right. So now Israel always wanted a king. Since Absalom passed away, now they needed someone to replace Absalom. But remember, David was always king, but he fled so that prophecy would be fulfilled, and Absalom would took over the throne, and then later on Absalom died, and he will regain his position again in the palace. All right, but the people did not feel too pleased about how David handled this situation. Again, prophecy had to be fulfilled. That's exactly how he was supposed to handle it after he messed up. Right? So, in verse 11 now, verse 11, and King David sent to Zadok and to Abiathar the priest, saying, speak unto the elders of Judah, saying, why are ye the last to bring the king back to his house, seeing the speech of all Israel is come to the king, even to his house? Right? So David pretty much was on a run. Now he's making his way back to Jerusalem, right, to regain his position, right, in Jerusalem as king. But the people were in opposition all throughout Israel. So you had, like as I said in the introduction, you had Judah was with David. The rest of the tribe, they had issues with David, right? So he had support from the tribe of Judah as opposed to the entire 12 tribes of Israel. All right, so let's see what transpired as David making his way back to Jerusalem. In verse 12 now, ye are my brethren, ye are my bones in my flesh. Wherefore, then are ye the last to bring back the king? And say ye to Amazah, art thou not of my bone and of my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me, continually in the room of Joab, and he bowed the heart of all the men of Judah, even as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word unto the king, return thou and all thy servant. So David is looking to consolidate, his position. Again, you have to have, at least some allies. So his ally at this time is the tribe of Judah, right? Because, and again, you see here, they say, you flesh in my flesh, and we from the same family line. So now they they pretty much conversate into bringing David back to his throne. So they want to have an agreement in between them, right? So that David can regain his position. In verse 14, and he bowed, I'm sorry.
Just you could link 2 Samuel 5:1 where he says the same thing back then too.
You said second, what verse? 2 Samuel?
5:1. It just
All right.
goes back to Genesis, just going into what you were saying. But we're kindred.
Mm-hmm.
We saw this in the Maccabees too, even when it wasn't entirely true. They say, we are brethren.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we need to try to break bread, but it was both in this case. We're trying to break bread with them and build camaraderie, but yeah, they are brothers.
Con. All right. So 19 now, and we at verse 15. So the king returned and came to Jordan, and Judah came to Gilgal to go to meet the king, to conduct the kings to conduct the kings over to Jordan. So it says to conduct the kings over to Jordan is like to traverse or to help them cross the stream, right, over Jordan. So the Judites from the city or from the borough of Gilgal, they went and meet David in support and also help him cross the river Jordan. In verse 16, and Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, which was of Beshurim, hasted and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. All right, so here come a man right here that come to meet David, and his name he's a Benjamite.
Remember him, right?
Mm-hmm.
From when David first jumped the run.
Right.
From Absalom.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking big smack.
Right, and he come in opposition to David. Right, so that's a problem that David's gonna have to deal with, and we're gonna find out how he dealt with that situation as we read on. Right, in verse 17 again, and there were verse 16. I'll read verse 16 again. And Shimei, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, which was of Beshurim, hasted and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. And there were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him. And Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons and his 20 servants with him. And they went over Jordan before the king. All right, so in verse 18 now, and you're gonna see how David regained confidence of the people as he making his way back to the kingdom, right? So that's pretty much what it's gonna be all about going forward, right? So it's like to amend his wrong deed. So he pretty much dealt with the people differently, and we're gonna see that as we go on. Verse 18 now. And there went over a ferry boat to carry over the king's household and to do what he thought good. And Shimei, the son of Gera, fell down before the king as he was come over Jordan. So write that in there. Shimei sometimes is when you in the kingdom and you are a known figure in that kingdom. You have three choices. Either you are the king's friend, you are the king enemy, or you dead. Right? So in any kingdom, it's either you friends with the king, if you are a known figure that can cause problem to the king. Your best bet is try to become the king's friend. Now, if you not the king's friend, you become the king's enemy, so you just as good as dead. Or you become a servant. Right? So either the king kills you or he enslaves you. Right? So now this man right here, he knew what he did, and Absalom died. So now King David is going back to his palace and regain control. So now he wants to get in David's good favor. So that's what he did right there. He dropped in front of David, and let's see what else he did. Okay, and said unto the king, let not my Lord impute iniquity unto me, neither do thou remember that which they servant did perversely the day that my Lord the king went out of Jerusalem, that the king should take it to his heart. There you go, the man right there. He knows that principle of king, how if you are a known figure and you know that you did something to the king, now the king is in power, so you bet something may happen. You might get rid of, but King David, being a righteous man, he will pretty much deal with him and with mercy. Verse 20. For thy servant do know that I have sinned. Therefore, behold, I am come the first this day of all the house of Joseph to go down to meet my Lord the king. But Abishai, the son of Abishai, the son of Zariah, answered and said, shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, what have I to do with you, ye son of Zariah? So automatically, David reacted. He told him, mind his business. In another word, right? David told him to mind his business. Ye son of Zariah, what ye should this day be adversary unto me? Shall there any man be put to death this day in Israel? For do not I know that I am this day king over Israel? So therefore, David, started to gain his prominence, or he regained his control, and he knew that he shouldn't put Israel to death just because he did something to him, right, personally, but rather he forgive him whatever he did, because it's not about killing people for killing's sake, but is to make sure that everybody in Israel is okay and judged according to the law and with kindness as mercy, just as the Most High, have mercy on him, and he's still alive, even though he was being punished for a time. So he understood that, and he also extended the same favor that the Most High extended to the brother, even though the brother trespasses against him.
Yeah, you brought it out as far as the mercy, because in principle, Abishai isn't wrong, right? Like you brought out, him getting back into the position of rulership after this ordeal with his son, right?
Right.
Having a coup to overthrow him. He wants to get back into people's good graces. He wants to show himself merciful, right?
Right. Mhm.
And we see that Shimei knows I better tread carefully,
Right.
because I could be off here right now for the things I was saying when he was down and out, and now he's back in power. It's like, oh snap, he could kill me right now.
Right. So that's the thing in politics. You got to know how to thread the line to so you can stay alive, especially if you are known as a person, of person of influence. Especially you make a scene in front of the king, everybody knows. Everybody in the town where you did it, word travel, they know that you are the enemy of the king. So the king, if the king is wicked, the king can get rid of you right that in there and pay you back for what happened.
Right. And here's the law. This is Exodus 22 and 28. It says, once again, Exodus 22 and 28, it reads, "Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people."
Okay. That was Exodus 22 and verse 28.
But with our rulers, just like even with the heathens, you'll see they'll exercise that. I think the Romans called it imperium, right? Which is like power of a command. They would do the thumbs up or the thumbs down after like a gladiator match. Or even today, you'll see about like governors over different states. They can decide whether or not they want to pardon certain like criminals that have like a harsh sentence. They have that power to say, you know what, I'm going to pardon this one for one reason or another. So you see that power had by those in authority, us and the strangers.
Gone. All right. So continue on in verse 23. Therefore the king said unto Shimei, Thou shalt not die. And the king sware unto him. And Mephibosheth, the son of Saul, came down to meet the king, and had neither dressed his feet, nor trimmed his beard, nor washed his clothes, from the day the kings departed until the day he came again in peace. Right, so here go a man that was in distress because of King David. So that was the manner in which he conducted himself, because he he loved David, right? So here go that man right here in verse 25. I read, it says, And it came to pass, when he was come to Jerusalem to meet the king, that the king said unto him, Wherefore wentest not thou with me, Mephibosheth? So now David also demand an explanation of Mephibosheth, why he didn't go with him as he was uh, going, leaving the palace when they had issues with Absalom. So now let's see what excuse or explanation that Mephibosheth has. Verse 26. And he answered, My lord, O king, my servant deceived me. For my servant said, I will saddle me an ass, that I may ride thereon, and go to the king, because thy servant is lame. You remember that when in back the chapter, the servant that came and brought David victuals while he was on in exile, right? So now he's telling David that he was deceived by his servant, because he told the servant to get a ass ready for him to go meet him, but the servant did otherwise than follow his instruction. So that's pretty much his explanation, right, to David. It says, thereon, and go to the king, because thy servant is lame. And he
have slandered thy servant unto my lord the king, but my lord the king is an angel of God. Do therefore what is good in thine eyes. So he pretty much trying to get in David good graces and use, flattery words, right? Because now David is the man now in power. He's in control, and his life is of the king. So the king can decide, this guy, he got to go, right? Because he's gonna be deterrent to me, and he cannot be trusted. Because when I was in tough time, that man just turned his back against me. He double crossed me, like what they would say in the world. So therefore, the king can decide someone like that he's not gonna have in his government, right, in his cabinet. So he spake some good word to David and gave him some good explanation um, about how the situation went down, right? So now let's see David's response to Mephibosheth. And verse 28. For all my father's house were but dead men before my lord the king, yet did thou set thy servants among them that did eat at thine own table. What right therefore I have yet to cry any more unto the king? Right? So in this situation right here, he said, listen, um, in it says in your house you did everything for your servant, right? You helped me out. So therefore, what else could I ask for? And you allow me to sit at your table, right? What else can I ask for in your own house? So it's like that's honorable. That's pretty much, that's a lot just to be in your company and to be able to break bread with you. That means so much to me, right? I don't need anything else. In verse 29, and the king said unto him, why speakest thou any more of thine matters? I have said, thou and Ziba divide the land. So David was like, listen, you don't even need to say no more. Say no more. All you got to do is tell your servant to divide the 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 land or the inheritance that was there, right? Just take your part and partake and have your own possession. And Mephibosheth said unto the king, yea, let him take all, for as much as my lord the king is come again in peace unto his own house, and Barzillai, the
Before you read on, Brother Prashad,
mm-hmm.
just a quick recap. I'm going to read it again as far as what he spoke before, in case folks may have forgotten. So this is 2 Samuel chapter 9.
2 Samuel chapter 9.
Mm-hmm. I'll start from 5.
Second Samuel chapter 9 and verse 5.
Yeah, pretty much down to the end, but this is like the recap for where they're kind of picking up, So it says, King David sent and fetched him out of the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lodebar, which is up there like where Gilead is.
Mm-hmm.
Now when Mephibosheth, that's gotta practice that one. The son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, was coming to David. He fell on his face and did reverence, and David said, Mephibosheth. And he said, behold, thy servant. And David said unto him, fear not, For I will surely show thee kindness for Jonathan thy father's sake, and will restore thee all the land of Saul thy father. And thou shalt eat bread at my table continually. And he bowed himself and said, What is thy servant that thou shouldest look upon such a dead dog as I am? Like you just read in chapter 19 about, we be as dead men. He said it here too. Then the king said unto Ziba, Saul's servant, and said unto him, I have given unto thy master's son all that pertaineth to Saul and to all his house. That's that land they were dividing up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it says, Thou therefore and thy sons and thy servants shall till the land for him, and thou shalt bring in the fruits, that thy master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, thy master's son, shall eat bread always at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. We just read that again too. Then said Ziba unto the king, According to all that my lord the king hath commanded his servant, so shall thy servant do. As for Mephibosheth, saith the king, he shall eat at my table as one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah, and all that dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants unto Mephibosheth. So they were like helping him out. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, where he did eat continually at the king's table, and was lame on both his feet. So that's like going into why. What he tried to say, as far as like you read, when David asked him, how come you didn't come up with me? When we hit this, when we ran out of town because of Absalom.
Right. And then remember, as we reading here, Mephibosheth is the son of Saul. And Saul had issues with David. And he admitted that everybody in his family actually deserved to die. Right? And Saul's family deserved to die. But yet David actually let him sit at the dinner table and break bread with him. So because of that, he admired David, right? Even though he could not go with David in his journey, but he had a profound admiration and appreciation for David. So when David was on his way back, he went and met with David, and David had that conversation with him. So that's pretty much where we are in the chapter. Right. So that's why he said, that's all I could ask for, to be sitting on the table eating with a man like you. Right. You gave David his respect. He said that's all he could ask for. And David told him, you know what? Just go and distribute among you and your people the goods or the land. He said, nah, I really don't need all of that. Just to see that you there, that's pretty much good enough for me. Right? So that's honorable. So now let's read on in verse 30. Yes, verse 30. And Mephibosheth said unto the king, Yea, let him take all, for as much as my lord the king is come again in peace unto his house. And Barzillai the Gileadite came down from Rogeland and went over Jordan with the king to conduct him over Jordan. Now everybody will have a chance to meet David as he's on his way, because sometimes when you're in your palace, it's not easy for people to just go into the palace, to come see you. But as you out there in the street, right, or you're in your way, or in your journey, it is a chance for people to try to get with you, if they have some word of encouragement, if it's a long time notable man that in one of those villages around about where you're traveling, they're gonna try to meet with you, right, to say a few words with you. Just like when you have the president traveling and you had people, a bunch of people go there just to see the president, and some of them hope to even shake his hand, right? That's pretty much the situation, similar to what's happening right now. You know, they try to meet David, you know, before he reached the palace, as he's on his journey going back, you know, to the palace, right? And in verse 29, sorry, verse 32. Now, Basilia was a very aged man, even fourscore years old. That's another man right there. Also, came to meet with David, right? He said, now Basilia was a very aged man, even fourscore. Fourscore is 80, meaning his a score is 20. So the man was 80 years old, and he had provided the king of sustenance while he lay at Mahamian, for he was a very great man. So he was a rich man. He was a rich man. As a rich man, he treated David good. He provided David victuals or food while he was over there, right? And the king said unto,
I just want to say this too. His name, it probably looks familiar to a country that we know about. In the Hebrew, as the word for iron or iron like.
mm-hmm,
That's where you get that the name of the country, Brazil. That's what Asher named that land, because of the rich minerals that it still has, but it had back then.
mm-hmm.
We use it when we bring up what nationality the indigenous peoples had to be. If they would have named it that before anyone else got there.
Right.
Oh,
So that man right here was a very rich man, but he did good and treated David with good favor while David was in that land where he was on the run. So he was he was very rich.
Barcelona, right? Right.
Shalom, man.
Shalom. You got any holy paper?
Yeah.
My man.
All right. So he took care of David, right? In verse 33, he took care of David. So David now is in a position to return the favor. But let's see how the man in David conducted this meeting. And the king said unto Barzillai, come thou over with me, and I will feed thee with me in Jerusalem. So now he wanted to return the favor. As he fed David, David wanted to return the favor and fed him when he's in prominent position where he can return the favor, right? And it says, and Barzillai said unto the king, how long have I to live, that I should go up with the king and unto Jerusalem? He said, how long I have to live? He said, I don't even have much life. Why even, go to Jerusalem and live with you, right? Right. It says, I am this day fourscore years old, and can I discern between good and evil? Can thy servant taste that what I eat or what I drink? Can I hear any more the voice of singing men and singing women? Wherefore, then should thy servant be yet a burden unto my lord the king. So the man was pretty much honest with himself, knowing his position. He didn't want to just go and be a burden to David in the palace. He said, I'm 80 years old. certain things I cannot enjoy anymore. You know, sometimes I just drink, but I don't even my taste bud is not the same anymore. Food doesn't taste the same anymore. Even singing and that. So I'm not. Yeah, I'm done through with these things. Yeah, I'm done with these things. So things are not the same anymore with me, right? So the man was honest with himself, and he said, "I don't even want to go there in the parties and be a burden unto you, bothering you, and I'm there, and then I'm just taking up space just because I'm your friend, but really I'm not. I'm serving you no purpose being there. It's just like it's a problem. So I don't want to burden you like that.
Humble and honest,
Right.
good qualities. He never be one to check him out on a Sunday or something, early in the week.
Mm-hmm.
Just to sit down and listen to him tell stories,
Mm.
I'm sure all the young kids love to go to his house, right? Just talk to him,
Mm-hmm.
Who's this?
Barzillai.
Oh, you can tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And his this right here. Then he said in verse 36, thy servant will go a little way, and at 80 years old, his hearing is not even there. Said, man, even I'm just happy that I can still go and walk you through. That's good enough for me, right? It says thy servant will go a little way over Jordan with the king, and why should the king recompense it me with such a reward? So the man is like, listen, I just come here, just walk you through a little few blocks, through get it through the river Jordan, right? It says I don't think I deserve anything more than that. Just walk you through is suffice for me. Let thy servant, I pray thee, turn back again, that I may die in mine own city and be buried by the grave of my father and of my mother. But behold, thy servant Shehem, let him go over with my lord the king, and do to him what shall seem good unto thee. So pretty much now, since he could not, since he didn't want to buy the David, so he just wanted to walk him through. So he did. He said, you know what? Since I have the opportunity, let me plug somebody in that can, that has more time to enjoy, the moment with David. So now, write that in there. That's a hookup right there.
Networking, right?
Right.
A younger man, right? That's got it could be much more used to you.
Right. All right. So he wanted to die in his own city, because sometimes when you in your own city, people already know you. You build rapport. Give me 1 second. Is it on speaker now? No, it can't.
Hang on.
Check see if it hang up.
I can still hear you.
Okay. Hopefully I don't hang it up once I put it. Stay here? Okay, good. All right, Salah. So the man was being honest. All right. So and he pretty much give pass on the offer and give it to somebody else. All right. Give me 1 second.
This kind of makes you think too. It makes you think of Joseph, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the 70 souls went back and went into went to Egypt, and I think he told them, he said, make sure, because I know it's going to come in the future, you're going to be delivered out of this land, many years in the future. Make sure you take my bones.
Right.
Take my bones and bury them in the promised land,
Right. Gone.
Even though I lived here in Egypt, make sure you get my bones when you guys are getting ready to leave. And you find that Moses made sure, which was, it's 400 years later, right? 430 something years later. But Moses still made sure to honor Joseph's wishes by having them be buried with, Abraham, Isaac, and, the whole sepulcher that they had set up.
Mm-hmm. Gone. So now Shem, what's the brother name? Shimham shall go over with me. So now David pretty much accepted his offer to have Shimham go with him and take care of Shimham instead of him going in his place. Right? It says, and the king answered, Shimham shall go over with me, and I will do to him that which shall seem good unto thee, and whatsoever thou shalt require of me, that will I do for thee. Right? So David was like, all right, no problem. So you already earned it. So whatever you ask me, I'll do it. So Shimham, I accepted that I'm gonna take care of him. So whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. So that's pretty much he honored the man for taking care of him when he was in that city where he was on the run, right? But the man was very, very, very rich. He was a very rich man, right? Now in verse 39, and all the people went over Jordan, and when the king was come over, the king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and he returned unto his own place. So it was a good meeting right there, right? So he went into his own place.
I think since he said he's Gileadite, more than likely he's probably Manasseh.
Mm-hmm. So 40. Then the king went on to Gilgal, and Shimham went on with him, and all the people of Judah conducted the king, and also half the people of Israel. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said unto the king, why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen thee away, and have brought the king and his household and all David's men with him over Jordan? So now there's a fight going on for David, right? And he said, why you stole David? Right? So they had David was a good man to have around, but now David had to go back to the palace. But the people that he was dwelling among, they didn't feel too pleased about it. Right?
Well, the other people ain't feel too pleased, right? It
Right.
was Judah, he was thrown around Judah, right?
Right.
And the other people, what was it? The other 10 tribes or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's well, half of them.
Right.
Remember, you got
Yeah.
you on the land, you got the Jordan, and I think on the east side you had the half tribe Manasseh, Reuben, and Gad,
Mm-hmm.
and the other 10 tribes on the other side of Jordan. But you'll see that in Numbers. It'll talk about, it'll always mention together. It'll say the Reuben, Gad, and the half tribe Manasseh. They always mention together because they were on the east side of Jordan.
And also, Benjamin was part of the Israel then, right? He was part of the North Kingdom then. Read on.
Yeah, not exactly. No.
I think that's what I interpreted. That he was part of the Northern Kingdom then. Or one of them was, what?
What are we talking about here?
Well, so
Right here, what we talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
technically, yes, sort of. Because Benjamin's land was in Jerusalem, which is where where the capital was, which was in the south. But before it was there, during Saul's reign, it was in Manaam, which Kahan read about a little bit earlier, which was Manaam was on the other side of Jordan, going like toward what do you call it, Gilead. which was like Manasseh territory. So that was the old capital where Saul ruled from, but then later on it was moved to Jerusalem, which was in the south where Benjamin was. So say he's from Jerusalem, he's from that area, like where Jerusalem is, but he ruled in Man, which is considered in the northern tribe territory.
Right. So let's see the fight now that's going on for David. So David is getting back favor with half of the tribe of Israel and Judah. So let's see what's going on here. In verse 39 again, it says, "And all the people went over Jordan, and when the kings was come over the king's Barzillai."
I think you're 41.
41. Con 41. "And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king and said unto the king, Why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen thee away, and have brought the king and his household and all David's men with him over Jordan?" So they said, "Why, all your family and all your men, your servants, they stole you away and they made you cross the river Jordan." Now, let's see what the response the people of Judah gave. "And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is near of kin to us. Wherefore then be ye angry for this matter?" They said, "Man, listen, he is closer to us than he is to you." There you go. There you go, Israel, man.
Hey.
He is closer to us.
That's my real brother.
Right, he is closer to us than he is to you.
Flex.
All right, so again, there you go, trying to be the king's friends. Again, you got to make sure you win the heart of the king. So you're gonna they try to use any advantage point that they can get, and that's pretty much what Judah's doing right there. They use any advantage point that they can to gain the king's favor, right? But again, given that, if the Most High said, David is a man after my own heart, like you gotta be there, like to experience in action how David interact with the people. So it gotta be a man that's like he's pleasant and good to dwell around. So that's why the people once David got in his good in good standing, he was a man to have around. Right? So now they fighting to have David, as their own. And on top of that, if David is in an area, that area is pretty much safe, because he has a dedicated army and a general that would be there, to protect the people and make sure that get rid of any heathen that would obstruct the people's peace, right? He was a warrior. In verse 42, "And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel." Okay, verse 43. "And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, We have 10 parts in the king, and we have also more right in David than ye." Now, they throw their stuff on the table. They said, "Listen, in the kingdom, we have more counts, more head counts. So therefore, not only in addition to have more head counts, we have more constituency, right? So we have more voting power, right? So therefore, we have more in the kingdom than you do, and by rights, if we have more people, we have more in the kingdom. So we have more in the kingship than you do, right? Even though David might be close to next to kin, but we more in terms of numbers, right, in the kingdom.
We got inheritance. We got real estate.
Right.
We got more land than you.
Right. And we have more right in David than ye. Why then did ye despise us. What our advice should not be first in bringing back our king, and he, in the words of the men of Judah, were fiercer than the word of the men of Israel. So here go that division right there. We always, we always find a way to, find, I'm better than you, this, that, and the third, But you see that among Israel. But again, but it's good to see that, David was displayed as a man after the people's heart, as well as, a man after the Most High's heart and the men after the people's heart. Right? So they desire David in that same fashion.
He was the king. It's the king.
Mm-hmm. And also they said, listen, while you doing all these things right here, we were the one favoring and start talking about bringing David's back. Yeah? Right? You didn't even, we were the first one who started to do that. Bringing the kings back as king. Right? So they, playing tit for tat right there.
Who said that?
Israel.
Oh, no.
Said, don't forget. Now we brought the idea up. We started talking about it. Right? Bringing David's back.
It's funny that last part though. It says the
Right.
words of the men of Judah were fierce than the words of the men of Israel. So it's like
Right.
like how we do today. People say, not so much what you said, but how you said it. It's like
right. So they
even if I said it rougher, it's like, but who makes a stronger stance in the end, really? Because I said it with more vehemency.
right, because what happened is they had a shouting match. They had a shouting match, and then a dispute and shouting match. But Judah, when voice was louder than the other tribe, right? So Judah took over the whole thing, right? Took over the whole conversation,
Israel may have had a better point,
right?
perhaps.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's about, let's get together, right, and get this thing right, But you know how it is with our people. When we get into it, and the emotion got involved, and it's your word against mine, and so that's pretty much how it went down. What I'm gonna do is go straight to verse 20, right? No break. We're gonna go straight to verse 20. All right. Yes, chapter 20. Con. Chapter 20. We're gonna jump to chapter 20. All right, so let's go. Sheba. Is it Sheba?
No, it's chapter 20.
Chapter 20.
What do you know?
Verse 1. Let's go. And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bishkri, a Benjamite. Where's Yahukanan? Because the Benjamite always, the Benjamite always causing trouble. Nah, just joking.
He must have moved to New York.
So, and there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bishkri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, we have no part in David's, neither have we inheritance in the sons of Jesse, every man to his tents, O Israel. So now that man right here of Benjamin, of Benjamin, he said, listen, all that you guys talking about David, I'm not dealing with David like that. I'm not dealing with David like that. And that man right here, he says, see right here, it says Benjamite of Sheba, the son of Beshi, a Benjamite, blew a trumpet and said he had no part in inheritance of David. So that man didn't want to deal with David like that. So now David has a problem in his hand that he got to fix. And also, when we read in Isaiah 58:1, it says, cry loud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet. So we always see the trumpet being used as an instrument, right, to get people's attention. And then once you get their attention, if you have a message to deliver, you give them the message. So that's why knowing the sound of the trumpet and whatever sound it makes, right, you would know what action to take. And we're going to see an example of that as we read on, right? It's almost like when you, now they don't do it, you don't sound trumpet, time evolve. Now we have, for example, if you're watching TV, there's a sound that is played when the news is coming on. That's kind of like the sound that resonates to people that man, something bad, they're about to deliver some news here. Right. So some news is coming. Right. Right. So some situation is about to be explained here, some news about to break. Right. So right here, the man, he saw the trumpet and he get the people of Benjamin assemble, and he told them, listen, this man David, we ain't got nothing to do with this guy. Right? Verse 2. So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Sheba, the son of Bichri, but the men of Judah clave unto their king from Jordan even to Jerusalem. So now, instead of having power concentrated into David's hand, now the power split. Now you have Benjamin went inside with that man Biliah, the men of Biliah, right? The Benjamite, Bichri. So they side with David. I mean, they side with some side. The Judah side with David, and the Benjamite they side with Bichri. And David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women. So now he made it to the palace. So he about to start working in the palace and start setting his house in order. It says, and David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women, his concubines, whom he had left to keep the house, and put them inward, and fed them, but went not unto them. So they were shut up unto the day of their death, living in widowhood. So the 10 women that he left, remember when he left 10 women to take care of the palace, right? And those women were his concubine. When he came back, he put them away, and he pretty much provided everything that they have need of: food, lodging, and also make sure that they are protected. Then he did not lay with them ever until the time or for all the rest of their life, I would say, right? He didn't go into them.
So they was virgins the whole time.
No.
Huh?
Why did he do that, though?
Why did they do that?
Why? Who do what?
This. Why did David do this? It just happened. We just read this a couple weeks ago.
I must have missed it.
And then before that, we read this was the judgment that Nathan told him, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
So that's why I'm asking the question. See if you remember.
I must have missed that. I must have got his age again.
So let's go to for that. Let's go to for verse 20 for chapter 20, verse 3. One second. 2 Samuel 15:16. And also 16:21, and also verse 22. You could write that down.
What verse again?
2 Samuel chapter 15, verse 16, and 2 Samuel chapter 16, verse 21, and verse 22.
Oh,
Here's the answer. I'm about to read it.
with 2 Samuel chapter 16.
Chapter 15.
No, where's what?
Verse 16, read chapter 15, verse 16, read, and the king went forth, and all his house after him, and the king left 10 women, which were concubines, to keep the house. Right, so that's one. 16 and verse 21. And Ahithophel said unto Absalom, Go in unto thy father's concubines. See that right there? Which he have left to keep the house. And all Israel shall hear that thou art abhorred of thy father. Then shall the hands of all that are with thee be strong. So Absalom, David's son, went and slept with David's concubines. So that's pretty much why David put him away.
Oh, so that's why David didn't mess with his concubine?
Right. When he get back.
Oh,
Because knowing that he's the king, and also he wants to get his house back in order. So he didn't want to continue with that same lifestyle because he had served his punishment and the Most High show him favor and get him back into power again. So now he had a chance to right his wrong and start afresh and send a good signal on dealing with the law, right? As a king, so he had to, make sure that he start watching his action as he move forward. So
but
that
was he sleeping with them concubines before Absalom slept with them?
Yeah.
Okay, but then after he did that
Right.
He violated.
Right. But again, he put them away, provide everything that they have need of,
Right.
and make sure that they are secure and protected for the rest of their life. So everything they have need of as far as victuals and whatever they need, they were provided for, and they had their own place. And
I don't see why he couldn't resume sleeping with his wives. Because his son slept with him. I mean, I understand, but I don't see where that would have been a sin to go back and do that because Absalom was dead, so it wasn't his wife. Well, it was never Absalom's wife anyway. Absalom was committing adultery, right? Well, he wasn't married to him, was it concubine or what? How did that go? We could talk about that later.
gone. All right, so let's get back to 2 Samuel chapter 20. All right, and what verse we on now?
4.
Verse 4. Then said the king to Amaziah, assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days. and be thou here present. So Amazah was commissioned to assemble the men of Judah to the king. So Amazah went to assemble the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than the set time which he had appointed him. So he was commissioned, and he had a time period when he has to come back to the king, right, with a report or with the mission that he was entrusted. In verse 6, and David said to Abishai, now shall Sheba be the son of Bichri, do us more harm than did Absalom. So now again, here we go. I said earlier that David's gonna have to deal with this problem, right? So now they realize if they let the situation emerge, David might have more of a problem in his hand than he had with Absalom. So now let's see how they're gonna deal with the situation. Thou that Lord's servant, and pursue after him, lest he get him fenced cities and escape us. So now they wanted to stop him on his track, right? Before he even lay out any plan, they were gonna try to, control demolition, or control, try to how can I say that?
Position.
No, try to neutralize him before his plan take root, right? In verse 7, and there went out after him Joab's men, and the Cherethites, and the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. When they were at the great stone, which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him, and upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins in the sheath. Therefore, and as he went forth, it fell out. So he had a big sword attached to his garment, and as he went forth to meet him, it fell. Right. So now, when the garment it fell, we're gonna see what happened. He probably thought he's in a good case in the conversation. I'm talking about when he's gonna meet the other fella. But let's see what took place here. Right. It says, and Joab said to Amasa, art thou in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand, right, and to kiss him, right? But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab, because he saw that the sword that he had fell down, but he also had spears, right? But he took no heed. That was he had a sword in his left hand, and also he held him by the right hand. And let's see what happened here. But there in the 5th, but Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand, so he smote him therewith in the 5th rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground. It's like one shot, one hit. The man was was pretty much dead. His bowel came out and he was dead right that in there.
No, he killed them because he didn't assemble the men fast enough. Why he killed them?
Because they sent him on a mission.
And he didn't do it fast enough.
No, he didn't come back because he didn't have the intention probably to come back.
No, he was totally okay.
Because they give him a set time to come back.
Okay.
But when they saw that he didn't come back, David pretty much he had envoy, he had information, people, informants out there, right? So he knew something was up.
Oh, so he really was against him.
And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him, but Amasa took no heed. Abishai his and shut out his bowels to the ground and struck him not again. So it was one shot. He didn't struck him again. One shot, and the man was out, and he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursue after Sheba, the son of Bikri. Bikri.
I got a link before I quoted the. Who's this remind us of? This was like this was called the Joab kiss of death because he did this before. Remember?
Yeah,
somebody else.
That's his ammo. That's how he
fighting Saul.
Saul, but who in particular?
The dude who killed his brother. Was it the dude who killed his brother?
Yeah, who that?
I can't remember.
Abner.
Abner. Okay.
Did the same thing to him. You just write down 2 Samuel. Hold on. Chapter 3.
2 Samuel chapter 3.
Let's just look at it. I can't see it.
All right, yeah. Let me continue, and then we'll call it out. All right, verse 9. Verse 9. No, not verse 9. Verse 11. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said,
Oh, God. You can just write 3. 27. That's like the whole story, but I want to make sure you guys have the verses that kind of have everything. But you just write 3 and 27.
God, so 2 Samuel 3:27. All right, so to link with verse 10 in chapter 20. Actually, 10 chapter verse 9, 20 verse 9. All right, so now back to verse 11 again. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favor Joab and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. And Amasa wallow in blood in the midst of the highway. And when the men saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field, and cast a cloth upon him. When he saw that everyone that came by him stood still, because it was so gruesome, and the man was laying there, swimming in his blood. So it was they shot every time when they got to the body, instead of crossing and keep it moving, they stood there and started looking at him. So Joab took the body, drag it besides on the field, and then throw some clothes on it, and the people now kept it moving. Right? So in verse 13, when he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bichri. And he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel, into Bethmashah, and all the Berites, and they were gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Bethmashah, and they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench. And all the people that were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. So now they went on the wall, they went to the city, they besieged the city. So now they begin to shake down the wall, right? To go in and take, what's the name? Bichri. So now, Bichri. The people that live in that town, they shook, right? And let's see what course of action were taken and how it went down. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear, say, I pray you unto Joab, come near hither that I may speak with thee. So now that wise woman wanted to have a talk with Joab to see how she can, stop the situation, or stop the people, stop the people that were on the wall from destroying the city or cause chaos in the city. So she's going to offer some advice on how to deal with the situation, right? In verse 17, and when he was come near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? And he answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the word of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. So in layman term, she said, let me have a talk with you, right? But can you, I got something to talk to you about. And he replied, yeah, I'm listening, right? So then she spake, saying, they were wont to speak in old time, saying, they shall surely ask counsel at Abel, and so they ended the matter. So she said, there was in the town, there's a story. There's a place you can go to find out about how a situation went down. Anything that you need to know, you just go to that city and you'll find out the story. There's a spot where people go, and if you want to find out how something went down, that's where you go to find out how things went down in our city, because we got a way of the way we do things, right? When you want to find out information, intels, what went down and how they deal with a situation, that's where you go, because that's where all the information is at. That's where all the archive of things that went down and how they deal with it. So we have a way of doing things in this area, right? So now, I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel. Thou seekest to destroy a city, and a mother of Israel, a mother in Israel. Why would thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord? So that woman right here, she said, listen, here in this town, we fear the Lord. We keep the law and we do our things right here. So why you seek to destroy the whole city, a city that walk after the Most High's commandments, right? Or a town that walk after the Most High's commandment, right? And Joab answered and said, far be it. They said, nah, that's not what we about. Far be it from me. That's not what we came here for. That I should swallow up or destroy. He said, we don't come here to swallow and destroy or cause any locomotion here. We don't come to destroy and cause grievance to anyone. Verse 21. The matter is not so. But a man of Mount Ephraim, Sheba, the son of Bichri, by name, have lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall.
What's so funny about that?
Damn. Talk about case.
That's because the woman, she's a woman of wisdom. She's gonna deal with the situation. Here's what's taking place here. When you know somebody's wicked in the city, we know the person could be Israel. The judgment is you're not about to destroy your own people. But if you realize that man will not be reproved, and you have a city that's keeping the laws of the Most High, if that person can be a rotten apple that can cause the city, people in the city to go against the Most High, then get rid of that rotten apple, but the whole city will be intact to serve the Most High.
A little leaven, right?
Right, the little leaven lamp the whole lump. So they realized the situation, and she said, you know what? That guy, we're gonna get rid of him, and we'll send his head over the wall. You take the head to David, and David can see that we done with this guy. But again, it's not about destroying your own people or your own brother. It's almost like when the Mosai, right? When Moses came down the mountain and saw that, everything that was going on, the Mosai said, who's gonna get rid of these people? So you take evil out of in the midst of you. And that's why you have capital punishment. The capital punishment was you get stoned, right? When you commit adultery. Some sin is capital punishment by stoning you, right? To get rid of wickedness in your midst, right? So that people don't do it again. So you don't become like when you get rid of wickedness, so they don't have a chance to keep rising up. And people can see it. They say, you know what? Whatever happened to him, I don't want that to happen to me in my wickedness. So capital punishment is good because it actually stops death and stop wickedness. But a lot of stuff, if you had capital punishment being applied, they would have stopped right there.
Yeah.
Capital punishment is civil.
They still practice that over there in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Right? You still cut your hands off.
Right. Capital punishment is there to make sure that wickedness don't run rampant and killing people don't run rampant.
Right. If they had capital punishment here, that would stop a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
Well, they do, but
Huh?
they do it for the wrong reason.
Well, they do it because they know what the outcome is. They want our people to act like fools.
Exactly.
It gives people jobs and all that shit. It's all bullshit.
Right. So what verse we on?
22.
22.
She said,
So let's get on some verse on this one.
consider.
Let's go to Ecclesiastes.
She said, consider.
Ecclesiastes. Get Gobar, you can read Ecclesiastes for us, Bible question.
Ecclesiastes
Chapter 9, verse 15 to 17.
She said, consider it done. Head on a platter.
Who would have thought, right? A regular citizen in the city, saved the whole city.
Sounds another verse.
Ecclesiastes 9 and what you said 15.
Yeah, you could read 15, yes.
Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he by his wisdom delivered the city.
Mm-hmm.
Yet no man remembered that same poor man.
Right. Sometimes, you have one man can deliver the whole city, but yet nobody remember that same poor wise person, right? So that's why sometimes we say when it comes to wealth, right, and money, you have many of our people who have good things to say, right? But because of our position, sometimes they don't even hear us, right? Because we're poor, right? Read on in verse 16. So that's why when we have the opportunity to gain wealth and we in the truth, we have wisdom, that's a plus to use that in a way to, put the truth out there, right? Not to oppress your people, to show off, because, what we see out there, people are doing is in the midst of our people. When they get wealth or when they have some kind of wealth, they pretty much oppress, because you can't oppress Esau because Esau has everything. You pretty much oppress your own people. But having wealth is a good thing if you have wisdom, because now people can hear you, because what the world's seeking for, you actually has it too. So has what they seeking for, you have it. So your wisdom, right, will go a long, long way, right, when you use it properly. Continue on.
16.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Then said I, wisdom is better than strength. Nevertheless, the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard.
Right. This poor man's wisdom is despised, but his voice are not heard. So you can have a lot of wisdom, but we gotta, if we have the opportunity, to balance it with wealth, it's a good thing. We don't. No,
Well, how does that relate to this woman?
I'm gonna go to verse 17. For example, no, I just wanted to get that point with the woman. A regular person can save a whole city, right? And at the same token, also, you can have wisdom, but your voice go unheard. It just so happened that regular women saved the whole city because they were willing to listen, right? Because that man that was talking to him, Joab, had some kind of wisdom, did not let her word go unheard. But when you're dealing with a wicked system, if you don't have wealth, they don't listen to you. If you're not on a higher echelon in society where you have something to show for it, they won't give you any play. I just want to make the parallel between how the wicked deal with wisdom and how the righteous deal with wisdom. But in this city right here, for example, in Philadelphia, right? You may have wisdom. Ain't nobody gonna listen to you. Rarely you might have something that can save the city, but nobody really gonna pay too much attention to what you gotta say because you have nothing to show for it because you're not up there, right? But when you speak with somebody with wisdom, like Joab, even though he was a general in David's army, he did not let that go. You know, say, the hell with what you gotta say. I'm gonna go in and kill the people anyway, right? I'm gonna go and search for victory and ravage the whole city until I can, find it, right? But being that David sent him and he was a general in David's court, he had to have some wisdom with him to know, even though the lady, she's a regular woman, but she's a wise woman, and he listened to him. That's why he said, when she was talking to him, he said, "What you trying to say? That's not what we about. No, we about getting this man because he double crossed, the king. So we're not about he come here to destroy the whole city."
Right.
Right.
So she saved the whole city by cutting that dude head off and throwing it out. She saved them from fighting. A lot of people that got killed if they'd have backed that boy.
Right. Come on.
And yeah, Joab had a lot of wisdom because he even stepped to David when David was feeling bad for his son when his son got killed. And he even stepped to David, didn't he?
Got killed.
When they killed his son, and David started mourning for his son, Joab stepped to him and said, "You better stand up tall. Your son would have killed you."
Last chapter.
Yeah, that we just got to.
Right. Did you read verse 17 in Ecclesiastes 9:14?
I don't think, let me see. No. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. You want me to read that?
Come on.
The words of wise men are heard in quiet more than the cry of him that move among fools.
Right. So it's better to hear wisdom in quietly, right, than a fool that's doing a big meetings and then talking nonsense.
It's funny, because I thought of this verse. I didn't quote it, but I thought of this verse earlier when you were reading about Israel and Judah having a shouting
Right.
over. I thought about this verse. I didn't quote it though.
Right. So it's better to hear, quietly wisdom than, go and listen to somebody giving some speech, about how they're gonna get rich, or how they gonna do this, how they gonna do that, how they gonna, stop World War III. Here's what we gotta do, this, that, and that. But we know, speaking among us, that ain't gonna happen, right? But they can rally up a lot of people in front of them. All these people are considered fools. That's pretty much what we're reading right here. He's speaking loud in a bunch of fools listening to him. Right? Now, let's finish up in verse 22. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and cast it out to Joab, and he blew a trumpet, and they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king. So when he blew the trumpet, it gives the right sound that they know that it's a wrap. They can return, mission accomplished. Right? So it was a custom to know what the trumpet is, and mainly used to gather the people, a company of people who gather Israel. verse 23. Now Joab was over all the hosts of Israel. So now they're giving you a synopsis on David's cabinet, who was over what, right? And you can read more of that, of David's I would say, his staff, right, who was working with him. You can write down for verse 23 on down. 1 second. '20 and 23. You can write 2 Samuel 8 and 16. Second Samuel 8 and verse 16. Also, you can write 1 King 2 Samuel 8 and 16 to 18. 1 King chapter 4, verse 3 to 6. First King chapter 4, verse 3 to 6. So in verse 24, verse 23 again, it says, Now Joab was over all the hosts of Israel, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pelethites, and Adoram was over the tributes, and Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. 25. And Shiva was scribe. The recorder, pretty much the archive. The one who would do the archive and put everything and store everything that is being done. They record everything. And Shiva was scribe. And Zadok and Abiathar were the priests. And Ira also, the Jerite, was a chief ruler about David, like the chief of staffs or special attached to the president or the king, So that's how it was set up. So David got back to power and established his kingdom and put people in position. So now, as we read this, from the beginning, we said it's about the Bible is about a king and his kingdom and his royal family. All throughout the Bible, that's what you're gonna see. The Bible has nothing to do with religion, right? This is, as you can see right here, is about fighting, reestablishing rulership in governments. That's pretty much what the Bible is about. We establish rulerships, governments, and implement the rule of law of the Most High. And ultimately, from the beginning, that's what it was. It was the Most High intention to have the earth run by his people and have dominion over the whole earth and the other nation, right? Rule over all nations according to the Most High's will. And we read that in Matthew 6 and 9, that will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So the same intention that was there from the beginning is the same thing that is going on now, reestablishing and bringing back the kingdom. But all that, jumping and hollering that you see in those churches has nothing to do with the Bible. The Bible is about reestablishing the kingdom. That's pretty much what it's about. That's why when we come here, we come to learn about the kingdom of the Most High and how we got to get ourselves in order as Israelites, because the Most High's was intention is to choose a people, Israel, to run earth, with Christ being the king, along with other kings to run this planet earth. That's pretty much what it's about. And there's not no if, no but. That's all it's about. And that's what it's going to be. So with that, we got to get our house in order, learn the law, keep the law, rehearsing the righteous acts, and with all glory and honor due to the Most High by Hashem Yahushai, we were privileged, and the Most High have chosen us as that nation, right, to show his power upon earth. And as we messed up, we are in the land of captivity, but our captivity is quickly turning as you see what's happening on the earth. All the prophecies that we read in Ezekiel, Revelation, little by little, they come into fruition, right? And it's a great time to be alive, because the prophet of old wish that they can see in this time things that, that was spoken of, and they could not see it. But now in our time, we are seeing it. What's that scripture, Kahan? Like
it's in the parable of the sower.
Kahan. Those in the past wishing to see what we are seeing today, because it was prophesied, but they had yet to see it come to fruition.
I can use the one in Matthew. It's in,
Kahan. You can read that once you have it.
it's in 3 places. Matthew 13, Luke 8, Mark 4.
Matthew
13 and 16 and 17.
Gone. So this is not about, fighting and among us, but we did enough of that already. So we got to learn from it and move on, because the time to keep fighting among us as a people, it's got to come to an end, because we read that we have been doing that, just to, get the kingdom established. It's not working. But we know it's happening now, where our people are waking up. Of course, we still gonna have, pockets of us still don't get the bigger picture. So it's about the bigger picture. It's about one here fighting here, and I'm better than you here. It's a whole 12 tribes of nation of Israel, a nation of king and queen, right? Yahushua is the head, and that's why without Yahushua, we can't do nothing. Every time we try to, head of this church here, head of that church here, trying to run men and thinking that we're doing something, we see that, it comes right back and blow up in our face, because we think that we are something when we are nothing. We cannot do anything without Christ. And once we have Christ, that's when things work, how it's supposed to. So whenever we neglect Christ and think that we have authority over men, and thinking that it's about, running men, but not looking at the bigger picture, which is the kingdom, then it's gonna blow up back in our face, right? But the bigger picture is look forward to the unification under Christ and the kingdom. That's what it's about. Can you read that scripture, Baba Kushan?
Sure. Matthew 13 and 16.
Matthew 13 and 16.
It reads, Matthew 13, 16. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. 17. But verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see the things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them.
Gone. So the prophet of old, they wish that they can see the end time that Yahushua was always referring to. Now we are seeing it. Now we are seeing the kingdom, the last kingdom on earth being annihilated. They divided among themselves, right? They cannot get anything right. We are seeing it, right? All in Revelation. And with that, we're gonna say, if you like what you hear, share it on your social media page. Like what you heard, and we have class on Tuesdays and Friday at 7 to 10 p.m. Class time. What is the class time? All right. Here we go. We have that scrolling at the bottom. If you haven't have it yet, you can write it down. The conference line code, the phone number. All right. So it's Tuesday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And you can join us at Profitable Talk. This is our Zoom link where we come in, lay out the scriptures. If you have questions, anything that you need to know about the scriptures in the spirit of Christ, we go into those scriptures and break them down. And if you want to give a donation, you can send it here, 3826B Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19140. Also, since everything is being done electronic now, if you want to give donation via PayPal, you can go to paypal.me at HYK12. You can send your donation there. All that to continuing with the work of the Most High. All right. This is not a fundraising that we're doing for our own good. As a matter of fact, we are here, even us teaching, we also contribute to that same fund. All right. As it is written in the scriptures, whatever we have right now, it's that money, we contribute that in our tithes. If we were in a land where we have fruits, we would bring fruits, but right now we can't pay bills with the fruits, and the money is the fruits now. Right? All right. So with that, we're gonna say stay tuned for the closing prayer. All right. Closing prayer. Once again, my name is Kahan Pukwad, and it was a pleasure and honor to be of service, first and foremost, to the Most High, by Hashem Yahushai, and to my people, Israel. All right. Stay tuned for the closing prayer. Also, next week,
Next week we have
First Timothy chapter 5 and verse 6. And normally we have a color garment, but I'll give it anyway. It's any color. So again, for June 17, we're gonna have First Timothy 5 and 6. Please read ahead and bring your questions to the class so we can answer those questions according to scripture. All right, so with that, we're gonna say stay tuned once again. Select for that late announcement for the reading for next Sabbath. All right.
Barakta Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ashura, Natanawa, Parya Gapon, Tuwara Aman, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ath Yasha'al. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine, to Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, with Israel. I mad up on you. Are you watching them? Stay in face Jerusalem. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Bahasham,
Ba'ashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Babakushai,
Babakushai,
Shemai,
Shemai,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Aitha,
Aitha,
Yamyun,
Yamyan,
Aitha,
Aitha,
Shalat,
Shalat,
Micah Allah,
Micah Allah,
Wala Lahayim,
Bala Alahai,
Atazudakim,
Tazwadak,
Shemo Aya,
Shema Ayah,
Barak,
Barak,
Rapa,
Rapah,
Magun,
Magan,
Wakaziyak,
Wachaziyak,
Bunya,
Banya,
Yasha Allah,
Yasharala,
Wasalat,
Washalat,
Lanawa,
Lanawa,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Takama,
Kakama,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Ta'if,
Da'ai,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Bayana,
Bayana,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Sabalanwas,
Sabalanwa,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Amawan,
Amawan,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Aqua,
Aqua,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Ahabiam,
Habi,
Rabiam,
Rabi,
Agana,
Agana,
Rakhanaya,
Rochanai,
Wasalat,
Masalat,
Kau,
Kau,
Katayimnawa,
Katayamna,
La Akim,
La Akim,
Wayasha'ala,
Yasharala,
Tamyan,
Timya,
Rayulam,
Wabalam,
Bahasham,
Bahasham,
Yahushai,
Yahushua,
the water,
Tuwa,
Aman.
Aman,
English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers and angels to watch over, bless, protect, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel, and send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive us all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahushai, thank you, so be it. The four corners prayer. Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem,
Ba'ashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushua,
Ruach Nawa,
Barak Nawa,
Wayasha'ala,
Yasharala,
Wabashi Saparian,
Ubabia Saparian,
Shema,
Shema,
Yashirala,
Yasharala,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Achad.
Achad.
All right. Have a blessed rest of the Sabbath. Blessed week. Stay strong. Stay in the spirit. Continue the battle. Peace.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh, that was in sync. Sync. What do you call it? Sync. Is it at the same time?